So in terms of policy interventions, if you want to strengthen herbal medicine in India, so to say, you have to strengthen the traditions of India, the health traditions of India, which is at the household level, which is at the community level, and recognize them and see that some part of the taxpayers' money, goes into them. Today we are spending something of the order, and those of you who are not so familiar with this order, at least it's 200,000 crores in a particular 5-year plan. We spend something of the order of 200,000 crores on the health system. That's our 5-year budget for health system, of which zero goes into this, what I'm talking of, the 2 tiers that I'm talking of. We don't invest a single penny into revitalizing either household knowledge or into revitalizing community knowledge. Nothing goes, for example, into tribal medicine. There is no such term. Or Adivasi medicine. There is no such term. I happen to have worked for 5 years as an honorary advisor in the Planning Commission during the period 2007 to 12, and I was able to put in a budget line into the Planning Commission's 5-year thing for local health traditions, which included all this. And I was dismayed to find in 2014, when I recently visited the Ministry of Health, that they have decided to do away with that particular budget line and that whole scheme, because they say there are no takers for it. I don't know what they mean by there are no takers for it. There are 1 million community-based healers estimated in this country, which include tribal healers and healers from other ethnic communities, 1 million of them, but they are invisible to this government. And of course there are millions and millions of households, who are carriers of health knowledge in terms of food, nutrition, home remedies, knowledge about prevention, like I'm saying. This knowledge of storing water in copper vessels is a home level knowledge. I can give you many examples of the value of this knowledge. You heard certain examples from him. I'll tell you what is the first thing I encountered when I was staying in a tribal area, in an Adivasi area. I found a young man with a testicle swollen to double its size. And then a local healer, I was alarmed looking at that situation, and then a local healer walked up and he said there's no need to take this person anywhere. This was probably a condition what we call hydrocele, And what did he do? He just went and he picked up a leaf of, I don't know what you call it in North India, it's called akra in Gujarati,
Yes.
we call it, in Sanskrit we call it arka, that plant. Just took a leaf of that, put a little oil and little haldi, because it's a very, what we call ushna material. And he said, you just tie it on that testicle and wear the traditional langoti and change it every day. And the 4th day, the testicle was down to its normal size. And that is what actually got me impressed, one of the things that got me really impressed about the efficacy of this knowledge. So I started inquiring. I said, what is this property of this plant? And then I gathered, because the Sanskrit tradition, so-called Ayurveda tradition, is actually, all Sanskrit is derived from Prakrit. So there is a connection. You can get an idea of the nature of Prakrit traditions from the Sanskrit tradition, because they're just a modification, that is a generalization. They have looked into the principles, not the scientific principles in the way modern science looks at it, but in terms of our own ways of looking at it. And anyone who knows Sanskrit would know that the meaning, one of the meanings of the word arka, that plant, or ark, which is the local vernacular name, is the sun. So they have named this plant the sun. And the reason is that just like the sun can evaporate water because of its heat, this plant has that same property. It can evaporate water. And you can use this plant therefore for hydrocele anywhere where there is water accumulation. Even if you have this thing in the in the abdomen, the water in the abdomen, you can make a belt out of those leaves and put it around, and you will probably have to have some other, won't drink water like he said in this case, and it will remove that water. You don't have to, normally you have to pull it out, and so on and so forth. So this would be my policy advice, a very serious policy advice, that if we want to improve health security of our people, we cannot have a system of healthcare in modern India which is entirely making the people dependent on institutions of primary, secondary or tertiary care. I mean, these institutions are being used, they are needed and they have value, but they cannot deliver you the health security for our people. You have to restore the knowledge of the communities, you have to restore the knowledge of the households, you have to reduce the dependence of society on institutional health care. You have to bring back this, and that will require a strategy. That will require, it's a very, very serious task. How to do it, which is not going to be the subject of my discussion now. But therefore, this is one of the advice that I would give. I think it is necessary as part of this kind of a strategy to really develop for the whole country at the tehsil level, at the taluka level, herbal pharmacopoeias. A pharmacopoeia is something which will tell you about plants found, if it's a tehsil pharmacopoeia, the plants found in the tehsil and what is their health value. That knowledge of what is their health benefit need not be derived from pharmacology or from modern science. It can be derived from the local tradition. It can be derived from the codified traditions like Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, Swarikpa, which is the knowledge in the Tibetan region. We have very, very rich, can be derived from that. But we need to create these kinds of herbal pharmacopoeias. In today's time, we can use technology, you can use the ICT platform, you can create graphic, databases or multimedia forms and put them into every single, digital resource that is available in the taluka, into schools, colleges, panchayats, wherever, digital media is available. I think we'll have to do lots of things like that in order to restore these two tires. But that should be the strategy really that is the challenge for, bringing back our knowledge into contemporary use. I don't know what was the intention Vijay had in wanting me to speak something about cultivation and so on and so forth, but this sort of a thing, what I'm saying is going to restore health security. The herbs in our country, the plants, and of course these plants are not only herbs. 1/3 of the medicinal plants of India are trees. 1/3 are shrubs, roughly. 1/3 are grasses, climbers and all that. It's not really only the lower, it's not only the herbs that are medicinal. You have, neem, there are 1/3 of our species are trees and parts of trees. And there's a lot of detail, the flowers, fruits, stem, raisins, bark, roots, so many different parts, and each part, we have that knowledge and tradition of all this. So this, what I am saying, to restore household tradition, to restore community knowledge, is something that will add to health security. But if the intention is also to look at livelihood security, then perhaps we will also need to look at the whole business of modes of cultivation of these plants. And there again, an enlightened policy or program on cultivation will have to take into account many more things than what modern agriculture teaches us. You just heard, the value of shifting cultivation in certain kinds of habitats, and the value of that for if you want to have access to material. At the same time, you want to not destroy the ecosystem. If you want to conserve the ecosystem along with access to, then you will have to use that. So, today we only think organic agriculture is the only, of course, organic agriculture is very, very important. But what we mean by organic agriculture today is an agriculture that does not use chemical ingredients, fertilizers. But traditional agriculture is much more than merely being organic agriculture. If you want the properties of plants to be expressed, then in the codified Indian tradition there is something called Vriksh Ayurveda. There are thoughts like Desh Vichar. Where does the best neem grow? It is neem grows in hot, dry, arid areas. The neem of Kerala is not medicinally the neem of Rajasthan or the neem of any hot, dry, arid area. There are hot, dry, arid areas in every state. You don't have to only go to Rajasthan, but Rajasthan is a symbol of excellent neem, because generally it's hot, dry, arid place. So which habitat to grow it, what time to harvest it. Do you know the names of turmeric, the traditional names of turmeric? This is just an example. Nisha, Rajni, these are names of turmeric. And what does Nisha mean? What does Rajni mean? Night. So what it is saying is, if you want the properties of turmeric, harvest it in the night, not in the day. Today all modern cultivation of turmeric takes place in a very different way. We have not bothered about habitat, we have not bothered about the time of harvesting it. Sometimes it is a nakshatra that is very important for harvesting, anything. How did they figure out that in that particular nakshatra you have optimum properties? We don't know. But that's a different epistemology. Perhaps someone had that kind of a dream or something, that was spoken about. And there are many other ways of knowing, by the way. We hardly understand the way learning takes place. We hardly understand the way in which knowledge is gained. We think that this modern method of learning, which is certain kind of limited sensory observation, all our modern scientific observations happen through certain instruments, which extend the range of senses in a particular way. And then we analyze that sensory data just using certain schemes of logic and mathematics in what we could call in a rational way. And we arrive at some inferential knowledge, and we say this is the scientific knowledge. There are so many other ways of knowing, there are so many other ways of observing. There are states of mind which are quite different from the rational state. And I don't think we should create in this society a divide between the Prakrit Parampara and the traditional Sanskrit parampara. Yoga Shastra, for example, is derived from nature. You know, the entire Yoga Shastra is only, all the so-called asanas and kriyas and all that are only mimicking some natural form, but they have gone beyond that form into understanding the properties. And in Yoga Shastras, we talk of so many different states of mind, you know, which are beyond the rational state. And in those states of mind, combined with the sensory observations, the nature of knowledge is quite different. The nature of evidence is quite different. And you know, one can, so there's a lot to be said about traditional epistemologies. You know, that's a subject in itself which is very, very deep, and which is much beyond the epistemology of science. This epistemology of science is what it is, and we are familiar with it because, you know, it is something that we've been schooled in our formal education system. But there is so much to really learn outside of our formal education system, and it's unfortunate that, you know, you are considered knowledgeable. An Adivasi is not considered knowledgeable at all, you know, because he hasn't been to school and college, but he has been through the school of life. He has been through parampara. Parampara is also a tremendous pedagogy. You know, I mean, so if someone looks at parampara, you know, how knowledge is transferred over generations. I mean, he was talking of snake bites. You know, we have something of the order of 60,000 Visha people who treat snake bites, and many of these are people who live in tribal areas, but also in non-tribal areas. And that's a life-threatening condition, you know, snake bite. You can't be fooling around in managing a snake bite. Now there are 60,000, at least 60,000 people who know about snake bites north, south, east, west of India. And where did they learn? And where did they get the confidence to do what they're doing? Or bone setters. You know, we have a large number of bone setters. Now that's anatomy, and yet they haven't gone to any medical school. And they are setting primary fractures. Sometimes I have seen people setting compound fractures, and we can give you names and addresses of places that you can actually go to where you can see this traditional bone setting going on, and where public also goes. In fact, if you look at statistics, maybe 40% of broken bones in this country are still being managed by traditional bone setters and not by institutions. You look at midwifery, you know, I mean, the kind of knowledge that is there traditionally on midwifery is also enormous. I mean, we have 600,000 traditional midwives. It is so unfortunate that the National Rural Health Mission has as one of its unstated goals to actually destroy the tradition of midwifery, because they say that all deliveries must happen in institutions, and there will be incentives given to people to come to institutions without anyway. This is the way in which the institutionalized three-tier system works. It also works at cross purposes with the rest of our traditions. So I think I'll stop here. On livelihood security, yes, cultivation and processing and preparation, it has a big scope, but I mean, an ideal livelihood program should take place using also the traditional knowledge relating to agriculture, and not only be based on modern packages for agriculture. Then it will be a more creative kind of a program. And similarly in processing.
Corporate plundering से कैसे बचाएंगे? Sustainable nurturance कैसे होगा?
You see, livelihood enterprises require also support. Okay, now today we provide support for the modern enterprise, and the banking system, the financial system, the management schools are all focused on, people in this corporate sector. But how do you support decentralized manufacturing? How do you support decentralized production? How do you support community-owned enterprises and federating them? These are all huge challenges, and today we are not got any institutional support, either financial or knowledge institutions or anybody to hold hands. The total size in this field, herbal industry, current turnover of India's herbal industry, the current turnover is estimated to be of the size of around 15,000 crore. That's the current turnover. That includes the Dabur, the Himalayas and all that, is around 15,000 crore. It's not a very huge size as compared to modern pharmaceuticals, which is maybe of the order of 75 to 80, 90,000 crore. This is only 15. But out of this 15,000, the size of community-based enterprises, the kind of livelihood that he's talking about, is less than 0.0001%. So you have practically nothing there in terms of livelihood security. The most knowledgeable people about, medicinal plants or herbs, or this knowledge has come from tradition. Modern science knows very little about herbal medicine, very, very little. It has scattered knowledge of little chemistry, a little bit of incomplete biology, and it makes all sorts of allegations even on the basis of this incomplete knowledge about evidence and this, that, the other. And the nature of their own evidence is so scanty. But whatever knowledge or awareness there is anywhere in the world, for that matter, not only in India, about medicinal plants has come from tradition. Yet our investment into traditional knowledge of medicinal plants, either for health security or bringing it into the health system or for livelihood security, is negligible. So we'll have to put investments into this of an order, not lip service as is going on. Today World Bank or UNDP or this one or that one talk about livelihood security for the poor and this and that. And what do they put behind those intentions? Nothing, practically nothing. Which is why the size of the herbal